The left's fake news narrative on immigration is crumbling, and Trump picks up an unlikely and probably inadvertent ally in Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, Jed Johnson. President Donald Trump is fighting back against the fake news on immigration being pushed by Democrats and left-wing media. And he had an unlikely and inadvertent ally in Jed Johnson, Obama's former Homeland Security chief, the former Secretary of Department of Homeland Security under Barack Obama. I'm going to get to all of that in just a minute. But Trump finally had enough. Now, I'm reading from a Daily Mail story that did a very good job summarizing all of this. But Trump has finally taken the gloves off, and he's tweeting. And I love when the president tweets. And he says, Drudge Report, referring to a story on the Drudge Report. Obama kept them in cages, wrapped them in foil. We do a much better job while at the same time maintaining a much stronger border. Mainstream fake media hates this story. Read it again. It's very sad that Nancy Pelosi and her sidekick, crying Chuck Schumer, want to protect illegal immigrants far more than the citizens of our country. United States cannot stand for this. We want safety and security at our borders. Now, the images that the president was talking about showed, you've probably seen the images by now. They show what looked like a warehouse with some very basic, like foam pads, not even really mattresses, on the floor, and these illegals in these cages, cells, where they should have been because they're illegal, wrapped in those foil space blankets. And it was very bright in there. Many of them were young kids. Now, look, I've said time and again, nobody is out there gloating about young children being held in any kind of facility. No one is. No one is. But this is a tough issue. Now, from the Daily Mail story, that's actually printing some honesty. In 2014, Obama responded to a huge rush of unaccompanied child migrants from Central America by establishing large centers to hold the youngsters while they were being processed. And it goes to say, those are the images to which Trump is referring in his tweets. Now, he's trying to show the difference in condition. Obama really did have these kids in pretty abysmal conditions. And these are little kids. I don't blame the kids. It's heartbreaking. I blame their parents. Because not all of these people are seeking asylum. And not all of the people seeking asylum are legitimate. The vast majority are not. The vast majority of these asylum seekers are, well, illegals trying to use the claim of asylum to get into the United States illegitimately. We know all this. But I'm glad to see the president finally fighting back. Now, they're supposedly, according to far left, corrupt woman with her own problems, or I say allegedly corrupt because of the Awan brothers scandal, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a woman with her own problems. And there's another story here in the Miami Herald. There's babies separated from parents are in immigrant shelters near Miami, lawmaker says. Now, that lawmaker is, of course, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And it says at least 10 babies and toddlers taken away from their parents after crossing the U.S.-Mexico border are being housed in, quote, tender age shelters in Miami-Dade. U.S. Rep. Debbie Wasserman Schultz told the Miami Herald on Saturday. Now, the Miami Herald doesn't go into the Awan scandal, doesn't go into all of Debbie Wasserman Schultz's problems. The Miami Herald is now using Debbie Wasserman Schultz as some kind of hero, some kind of crusader for these babies. Now, they're saying that these kids, who range in age from newborns to 5-year-olds, are being sheltered at His House Children's Home in Miami Gardens and Catholic Charities Children's Village in Cutler Bay, formerly known as Boys Town. I've driven by the latter facility. I've never driven by the former. But both of these facilities apparently are certified to house, shelter, feed, care for little kids. Far better than the conditions they would otherwise be in coming across the border. Now, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is saying that she was given a document by federal officials, and she's making all kinds of claims. But a guy named Mark Weber, who it says spokesman for the Department of Health and Human Services, could not immediately confirm the figures provided by Wasserman Schultz. He later described tender age shelters as facilities for kids 12 and under. And he said, quote, "These are specialized facilities licensed by the state that are fully capable of taking care of very young children." Very young children, of course, separated by at the border because their parents broke federal law. Now, one of the priests, a woman named Mary Ross Agasta, she's the spokeswoman for the Archdiocese of Miami. She said, quote, "I cannot," now they run the Boys Town. They run another facility, the one down in Cutler Bay, Cutler Bay is on the east side of Miami-Dade County. It runs along Biscayne Bay south. And you get Cutler Bay is pretty far south before you hit areas like Homestead, eventually winding up in the upper Florida Keys. So it's down there. It's pretty far down there. It's actually a very, very nice area, very safe area. Parts of the area are very, very affluent. So it's not like these kids are being sent to some kind of detention center in a bad neighborhood. There are mega mansions down there near Cutler Bay. Professional athletes live there. There's a nice part of Miami-Dade County, middle-class parts as well, but some very, very affluent areas there, very low crime, very safe. And so if you were going to send children somewhere, this is a place you had to send them. This is a place where they'd be very safe if you sent them. She said, Mary Ross Agasta, spokeswoman for the Archdiocese of Miami, "I cannot confirm the exact age of the children, but I do know that we do have children who are younger than what we normally have. We normally take in children who are past the age of 10. I do know that we have children from the border who are younger than that, quite a bit younger than 10. She also says this facility is capable of handling 81 children. That's the capacity. She doesn't know how many recently came in. Now, this facility was originally opened to over 5 decades ago to house kids coming in from Cuba. So it was built from the ground up for child immigrants without their parents. Again, if you're going to send a kid somewhere to be safe while we try to get things in order here in terms of immigration, their status, their parents, this is a place you'd want to send them. Again, no shelter is a better option for a child than being with their parents, unless the parents are abusive or harmful in some way. But the parents chose to break federal immigration law here in the U.S. So this is a good way to handle a terrible, terrible situation. Now, of course, no matter what Debbie Wasserman Schultz saw, no matter what she saw, she was going to find a reason to politicize it, to criticize the Trump administration. And as expected, the far-left Miami Herald is going to help her along. So they write, "Following Wasserman Schultz's tour of the Homeland Temporary Shelter for Unaccompanied Children on Saturday, Homestead Temporary Shelter for Unaccompanied Children on Saturday, Wasserman Schultz, just this past Saturday, a few days ago, Wasserman Schultz criticized the Trump administration's lack of clear instruction on how to reunify more than 2,300 children separated from their parents at the U.S. border since Trump's zero-tolerance policy was enacted in April by U.S. Attorney Jeff Sessions." Now, how does she know that? That is classic far-left political lip service. Let's read it again. He said the administration lacks clear instruction on how to reunify the more than 2,300 children separated from their parents at the U.S. border since Trump's zero-tolerance policy was enacted in April by U.S. Attorney Jeff Sessions. How does she know that? She's in the minority party. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has a ton of her own legal issues right now. A ton. I think she should be indicted for what she let the Awan brothers do. I believe they've always been under the thumb of Pakistani intelligence, the ISI. I believe that she gave them access to congressional computers that compromised national security. But she's not sitting in meetings, the Department of Homeland Security. She's not read in on this. She doesn't know any of the things she's doing. Now, Wasserman Schultz is also saying that the 3 Miami-Dade shelters appear to be the only ones in Florida currently housing migrant children separated from their families. As of Friday, there were 1,179 migrant children aged 13 to 17 at the Homestead, Florida shelter. That's down on the southern end of Miami-Dade County, Homestead. 792 boys, 387 girls, including 70 who had been separated from their families at the U.S.-Mexican border. Let's think about that. Not the story that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is telling. And that number came from the program director at the shelter, a woman named Leslie Wood. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz is saying that all these kids are separated from their families, and the Trump administration lacks clear direction to reunify them. The director of the shelter where their kids actually are, the person in the know, is saying no. Of the 1,179 migrant kids aged 13 to 17 at my shelter, only 70 were separated from their families at the border because their parents either weren't trusted to be able to take care of them, the kid was in danger, the parent committed another crime, or authorities couldn't prove it was the parent or legal guardian. 70. So 1,109 kids at that shelter out of the 1,179. The 1,109 were already alone. They were unaccompanied minors at the border. 70 of that number. 70. Not even, it's about 5% of the 1,100. 70. So just around 95% were not separated from their families at the border. Wow. Does that throw a wrench in the Democrats' gears? A big wrench in the Democrats' gears. Wow. There are another 125 children separated at the border in the house, the shelter up in Miami Gardens area of Florida, and another 70 at the Children's Village home. So of the about 1,500 to 2,000 kids being sheltered in the Miami-Dade area, now this says 2,300 children separated from their parents at the border, but we have no confirmation on that. But just in the Miami area, let's say there are 1,500 kids separated from their families, 1,500 kids being sheltered, only 265 of those were separated at the border. Only about 265 of 1,500 to 1,700. That really throws a wrench in the left's narrative. But there's more. Here's a story from Breitbart. 9 times MS-13 gang members, that is documented. These are ones who were caught. 9 times MS-13 gang members posed as minors or used kids who entered the U.S. illegally. Number 1, MS-13 gang member smuggles himself and a child into the U.S. May 2nd, 2018. My mother's birthday. Not 2018, but May 2nd. Border Patrol apprehended an adult male who was traveling with a 1-year-old son. He is a known MS-13 gang member who was previously removed from the country in 2012. The next line is critically important. The minor child was released to his uncle. So if the kids have another legal guardian here in the U.S., they don't get put into a shelter. They go with family. Number 2, MS-13 gang member who posed as an unaccompanied minor accused of murder. December 7th, 2013, Border Patrol apprehended an unaccompanied alien child. He was given a notice to appear and released into the United States. On September 2016, the subject was one of the 11 MS-13 gang members involved in the killing of teenage girls in Long Island, New York. I brought you that story, and you saw the families of those girls sitting with President Trump at his immigration and MS-13 roundtable in Long Island last month. Number 3, MS-13 gang member uses her, woman, child to try to enter the U.S. illegally. May 1st, 2018, Border Patrol apprehended a known female MS-13 gang member who was traveling with her minor daughter. After being processed, both mother and child were released under their own recognizance after 18 days. In the U.S., a known MS-13 gang member. MS-13 gang member illegally enters U.S. as an unaccompanied minor. December 3rd, 2014, same story. Unaccompanied alien child, known MS-13 gang member. He was also listed on the state of Texas's 10 most wanted fugitives list, compiled by the Texas Department of Public Safety. He was located and arrested in Virginia and is currently awaiting trial for the murder of 2 people in Houston, Texas. MS-13 gang member brings child to the border, gets released May 9th, 2018. Female MS-13 gang member traveling with her minor daughter. They were released after just under a month. And the list goes on. Previously deported illegal alien rapist used immigration loophole to try to enter the U.S. He brought his 7-year-old daughter along. Several more about MS-13 gang members bringing their kids to the border and being released. But no, we're not separating every family indiscriminately. We're just not doing it. Now, you would think, if you only listen to the media and the Democrats, that Trump is doing something unprecedented. Big, bad, evil Donald Trump is in an unprecedented fashion removing kids from their parents, creating orphans, basically, right? But no. Story from Mediaite. Fox News Sunday. Yesterday morning, Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, Jed Johnson, on Chris Wallace's show on Fox News, freely admitted, here's the title, Obama DHS Sec Jed Johnson freely admits that detained children, they detain children and families. He said, we believed it was necessary. Now, the ACLU blasted Obama for this. Mainstream media doesn't want to hear it. Jed Johnson, Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, said this, quote, without a doubt, the images and the reality from 2014, just like 2018, are not pretty. We expanded it. I freely admit it was controversial. We believed it was necessary at the time. I still believe it is necessary to remain a certain capability for families. Wow. Johnson also addressed another phrase that has come up many times in the last week, saying directly, we can't have catch and release, and stating that under his Department of Homeland Security, the Obama administration, quote, deported or repatriated over 1 million people. But when Obama did it, it was fine. There was a media blackout. Trump does it. He's an evil Nazi. Same policies. Same numbers, same facilities, same kinds of detention, same family separations. When one party does it, it's okay. When the other party does it, it's not. And that is the very definition of fake news. Reporting something you didn't report on previously and making believe the prior incidents didn't happen because they were perpetrated by those who share your political beliefs. America's lost all trust in the media. And like I said, I didn't mind when Obama did it. I don't mind when Trump did it. What does it? Law enforcement is law enforcement. Obama's Department of Homeland Security enforced the law. Trump's is. Both were right. None were wrong. So shame on Democrats and the mainstream media for telling 2 entirely different stories about the same policy carried out in an almost identical, if not an identical way. This immigration story is constantly evolving and very important. I want to bring you the latest on it every day. So help me do that by subscribing to our premium service at www.therebel.media/shows. Go to your app store, download the Rebel app. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.